Paul Brunton answers life's perennial questions. What is God? Quest Series 2, Video Number 8, presented by the Paul Brunton Philosophic Foundation. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter. Max Planck, the founder of quantum theory. All scientific evidence indicates that there is a single power which presides over the entire universe. It is the source of all appearances, the explanation of all existences. All religious mystic experience and philosophic insight confirms it. Its intelligence is unique, matchless, incredible. It is the only reality, the only thing which is, was, and shall be unalterably the same. It is ineffable and indestructible. We never see it as in itself, but only the things which are its passing phases. It is not illusory, but the greatest reality of human existence. Only we have to purify our ideas of this divine source. It is because God is hidden in all creatures that all creatures are searching all the time for God. This remains true even though in their ignorance they usually mistake the object of their search and believe that it is something else. If we begin to talk of this cosmic mind as he and him, we begin to turn it into an idol. The use of a masculine pronoun anthropomorphizes God and reduces this loftiest of all possible concepts to a wretchedly stunted statue. The old theology invested God with the quality of man. It belittled the infinite power and imputed petty motives to the motiveless. Such theology really worshipped its own thought of God, not God in reality, but rather its own cruel and pitiful concept of the inconceivable. The question is, do we want such a temperamental God who is merely a projection of the human mind, that is an idea, or do we want God as it really is? But God is not personal. It is divine being, but not a divine being. Love, but not a loving Father. It has not a personality, although containing the total of all past, present, and future personalities. It has eternal existence. With all this, it must be clear that God cannot be a person. It must consequently be a principle. It must be the principle of mind itself. God is, indeed, the world mind. Whatever we call it, most people feel, whether vaguely or strongly, that there must be a God, and that there must be something which God has in view in letting the universe come into existence. This purpose I call the world idea, because to me God is the world mind. It was an ancient revelation which came to the first cultures, the first civilizations of any importance, as it has come to all others which have appeared, and it is still coming today to our own. Put simply, God is the infinite intelligence that controls this entire universe, and is as present in the smallest event as in the greatest. This is the reality that is hidden in me and you, in the whole universe itself. It acts everywhere and exists eternally. The world mind's reflection in us is the Overself, our soul, the point where we meet the infinite. where we, the finite, respond to what is absolute, ineffable, and inexhaustible being, where we react to that which transcends our own existence. This is the personal God we experience and come into relation with. In this sense, our belief in such a God is justifiable. With this knowledge deeply absorbed and properly applied, we come into harmonious alignment with our source, and events may seem to happen at random, but it is not really so. They are connected with our own thinking and doing, with the pattern of the world idea, and with the activity of the world mind. The Overself is the God within the heart, is your best friend, your teacher, your mother in times of difficulty. It is all good, and its nature is love, acceptance, and forgiveness. Our mental attitude is here of much importance. Our sincere faith and earnest devotion have something to do with the results we achieve. For when they impinge upon the world mind, a spontaneous action immediately manifests itself and returns to the seeker in precisely the expected way by a mysterious device intended to help us in the familiar form under which we unconsciously worship it. Thus, we may spontaneously formulate a human mental image that appears as Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, or even as a living and contemporary spiritual guide to instruct, inspire, or assist us. The day will inexorably come when this pen shall move no more, and I wish therefore to leave on record, for the benefit of those who shall come after, a sacred and solemn testimony that I know, as surely as I know that I am not this pen which scribes these lines, that a being, benign, wise, protective, and divine, commonly called the soul, whom I call the Overself, truly exists in the hearts of all. Therefore, all may discover it. Paul Brunton, 1898 to 1981, a best-selling British author of a dozen books, spent much of his early life researching the original sacred teachings of Western and Eastern spiritual traditions. He traveled the world to discover and communicate with Christian, Kabbalistic, Vedantic, Buddhist, Taoist, indigenous, and Sufi masters. Blending the richness of his own spiritual experience and inquiry with these ancient and contemporary teachings, he developed a philosophy and path of practice that suits life in the 21st century, one that expresses the greatest wisdom and love available to humankind. Regardless of how it is named, we each have a divine soul, an overself or higher self, that is with us here and now, waiting to be realized. Paul Brunton's writings are a source of deep spiritual guidance for all those interested in living a divinely inspired life. Anthony Damiani, 1922 to 1984, was a prominent teacher of Paul Brunton's ideas and founder of the Wisdom's Goldenrod Center for Philosophic Studies. Inspired to penetrate into and understand the depths of traditional wisdom, he taught classes on the major philosophies as well as the teachings of Paul Brunton. His dedicated students compiled the 16 volumes of Paul Brunton's posthumous writings, titled The Notebooks of Paul Brunton, available from www.larsonpublications.com. Quotes were taken from these books. When completed, the Paul Brunton Quest Series 1 and 2 will contain the following topics: Please subscribe to the Paul Brunton Philosophic Foundation channel.